Well, hello everyone. It's a real pleasure to be here today with Pat and Patricia to talk about Pat's new collection, Only One Earth. So, Pat Farrington spent her formative years in West Africa, experiencing close encounters with the scorpions, locusts, snakes, and being balefully eyed by vultures. Exiled to England for school, she went to work as an assistant editor in educational publishing, 3 years as primary teacher, and then nearly 20 years as a director and producer for the BBC School Television, where, among other things, she wrote song lyrics for young children. After leaving the BBC, Pat worked for a charity bringing writers into schools for residencies, and then, apart from taking up environmental activism, she retired with an allotment where she provided meals for pests, which she later recognized as being an essential part of our ecosystems. Her two grandchildren, Rosa and Ada, are a joy to her and allow her to revisit the natural world through a child's eyes. Thank you very much.
Okay, so welcome everybody to Poetry Pharmacy. My name is Patrizia Longhitano and I'm the manager of this shop. Tonight is going to be Tony, my assistant manager, and I. So we are really happy to welcome Pat Farrington, the author of Only One Earth from the Poetry Lighthouse. So I'm just going to say quickly a couple of things about Poetry Pharmacy. As you can see, it's an unusual bookshop with alternative therapy for your emotional ailments. So instead of medicine, we do give you books and poetry. And so if you have any question, please feel free afterwards to talk to me or Tony. And if you follow us or you subscribe to the newsletter, you can look at all our events that we have. Next, we are going to have Writing with Courage. It's a workshop that is hosted by one of our other booksellers. It's going to be this Saturday. And then we have other events like we have a monthly poetry event organized by Laurie Bolger, and it's a breakfast club. So you come to have breakfast and you have also a poetry workshop. So you feel free to grab one of our bookmarks afterwards, and then you can scan the QR code and you can find all the informations. All right, so let's welcome Pat Farrington. Are you going to read some poetry for us?
Yes, yes, I am.
Excellent.
Well, good evening, everybody. Thank you for coming. The message of the book, in a nutshell, is that we humans have become the apex predator and upset the equilibrium of the natural world. The epigram at the beginning of my collection quotes from the Burns poem To a Mouse. He says, "I'm truly sorry that man's dominion has broken nature's social union." So the question is, can we redeem ourselves? In the collection, some of the poems give animals a voice. As you'll see in the poem I'll read about Ice Age animals. The collection is both an elegy for the natural world and a love letter, both fable and protest. I've tried to get a balance between joy, terror, and hope, in a plea for us not to become a plague of locusts upon the earth. So the first section is called Close Encounters Between People and Animals, and I'll read a poem from there called Ants Get a Bad Press, But. Ada is my younger granddaughter, then about 3 years old. Squatting on our haunches on the lawn, Ada and I looked down at the ground, at a crisscrossed web of grass. Ada hates insects, but we are transfixed by myriads of ants scurrying along invisible paths, silently minding their own business inside their hidden metropolis. Such collectively intelligent, self-organizing life beneath our feet, whilst in the world above, humans are voting for warlords. The second reading is a haiku from the same section, which has echoes of suburban neighborly disputes, but there is a difference. It's called Allotment Decisions. My robin or yours? I'm teasing my plot neighbor. We decide it's ours, while its beady eyes decide which human will serve it best. My plot neighbor worked for JP Morgan, by the way.
Wow.
The third poem comes from a section on Africa, as I'd wanted to explore how my childhood in Nigeria affected my view of nature, which is so different in the tropics. This is us trapped inside our house with a plague of locusts besieging us, just like in the Bible. It's called A Darkness Across the Land. An invasion of wings rasping on bodies. Close sinister windows before it's too late. Push the glass hard against their weight. Stop them crawling into our mouths. Now they've landed, the iron roof rattles. Those besiegers descend and devour every leaf, every blade and flower. Not a whisper of green, air disappears. That rasping again as millions of wings lift off above billowing dust. When the lost sky returns at last, the land was flayed alive. The fourth one is where the Ice Age animals have their say, and it's called If We Could All Voice Out Loud. Once upon a time, we were sacred. Our likenesses on cave walls, drawn between two worlds through a membrane, magicked up in charcoal and ochre, making us all come alive by the flickering light of limestone lamps, entrancing you. But your drawings could not capture us, lords of the earth, a roaring river of sun-glinting fur, massive bison, lions, saber-toothed tigers and leopards, surging towards our hunting grounds, chasing the antelope, challenged by you, our stick-legged rivals. Then you multiplied and multiplied, cutting up our cape of forests, no longer lords of the earth, but subjects isolated on green islands. If we could all voice out loud what we think of erstwhile worshippers, we would roar. Just who do you think you are?
I love that.
The fifth poem comes from the last section called Beyond and imagines a sort of planetary court of law. The quote at the end comes from A Midsummer Night's Dream. I didn't write it, Shakespeare did. Called Right of Reply. Yes, my lord, we have heard the charges, but we had to survive. All species have to survive. Putting food on the table, if you have one, is imperative. Likewise, building a shelter, taking whatever was needed from the land. Gold? Ah, yes, the metal that shines forever. It is human nature to love beautiful things. You could say they were an obsession, yes, whatever the cost. But how heart-stopping were those Etruscan buckles with stylized lions and that delicate Macedonian crown with acorns. The animals, well, as our God gave us dominion over everything that moveth upon the earth, we became masters of all we surveyed. Animals became meals, experiments, or servants. Coal. I understand what you're saying, but we really needed to keep warm. And then just look at how useful it became to drive machines, producing more and more goods to make our lives easier. much easier. We took possession of it all as charged, but we did memorialize natural treasures. I know a bank where the wild thyme blows, where oxlips and the nodding violet grows, quite over canopied with luscious woodbine, with sweet musk roses, and with eglantine. I rest my case. So this next poem is The Pair. It's the Judgment and was inspired by the Roman writer Tacitus writing about the destruction in the Roman Empire in pursuit of conquest. He said, they make a desert and call it peace. It's called the Judgment. Your species is guilty as charged, but with mitigating circumstances. Each species survives as best it can. However, ecocide is the most serious crime of all time. You have laid waste to our unique earth and called it profit. You must now take a binding oath to do community service in perpetuity, to restore the earth to its former glory. If you decide not to comply with this order, your punishment is extinction, for which you have only yourselves to blame. This poem is a little more upbeat, at least at the end. It's second to last in the collection. It's called Legacy. In distress, the last leaf quivers, fragile stalk, no longer turning to the sun, veins thinning by the day, like elders everywhere, but not yet dry enough to drop. This relic is shaken free. Blustering winds whip the leaf backwards and forwards in a frenzied tussle. Last slap snatches it off, eddying, dancing freely in death, spiraling down to the ground. And over time, it enriches the earth. And the last poem is a haiku, which is the title poem, Only One Earth. Veiled in wisps of white, an orphan planet spins in dense infinity. There we are. I can read others, but there we
Thank you.
Okay.
Was really great to hear you reciting your poems, because of course one thing is when you read the poetry book, and another thing is when
Yes,
you can hear the poet recite them.
yes.
So I guess I would start with an easy question. How did you start poetry? Was it always part of your interest, or is something that it started later in life?
Now, I wrote from the age of about 9 or 10, I think, really terrible doggerel
Yep.
verses, but it gave me pleasure.
Yeah, yeah. I think most of us started like that. Yeah. So the book, it has 7 sections. How did you come out with these sections? Was it something that you planned from the start, or did it grow naturally, organically?
I think it kind of fell into place, really. I think the idea that it would be both an elegy and a celebration, really.
Yes.
So I think that was sort of, I think it's almost 2/3 celebration to say this is what we would lose, really.
Yeah.
In the classic tradition of writing about the natural world, you would say how dazzling it is, really.
Yes.
And the last third, more or less, is, this is what might happen, and, be aware of what's facing us, really.
Yes. Yeah. Um, I was wondering, in the book, there are quite few poems that they are after writers
Yes.
or important people. You you quote Fleur Adcock, that is one of my
Yes.
favorites.
Oh, yes.
William Blake,
Yes.
Shakespeare, as
Yes.
you were saying. What are your favorite poets, or where do you get inspiration from?
Well, I think the poets of the natural world. I mean, I started with John Clare,
Mm-hmm.
and I reread him because I think he's the most delicate and passionate poet
Hmm.
in the English language in some ways, actually. I mean, I think Keats looked down on him a bit for not having a prevailing idea, but actually, the idea of Clare having paper and pencil inside his hat when he went out into the fields, and then sitting on a stile and writing his poems actually out in the field, and the anger about the enclosures in particular, where he says the moles were hung for traitors. That's a pretty powerful line,
Yeah,
really.
yeah.
And then after that, of course, were Wordsworth, and the 20th century is obviously Seamus Heaney,
Mm-hmm.
and more recently, uh, well, actually, D.H. Lawrence, really, writing about
Yeah.
the snake. um, uh, More recently, Kathleen Jamie,
Okay.
who writes about the covenant between the air and birds, in
Mm.
some way, something sort of a higher concept, really, about what keeps things uh, without the birds don't fall.
Yeah.
And she looks at the big questions, really. Um, and Also, of course, Margaret Atwood,
Mm-hmm.
who people don't think of as a poet,
Yeah, but
really,
she is.
but
Yeah.
she kind of freed me up to say you can write about anything, you can take the voice of anything, you can do what you want, really.
Yeah.
Um, and the other one I like very much is the American writer Mary Oliver. And she says,
Yeah.
if you're not dazzled every day,
Mm.
God will be disappointed.
Yeah.
Um, so a rich array, really, of
Yes. Yes.
people, uh, the giants, really.
Yes. That's beautiful. I definitely took my notes.
Yes,
um, so I felt that with some of your poems, you try to create some kind of encyclopedia of animals and insects,
yes,
and birds. I felt that you observe and analyze the world, as if you were an anthologist, trying to, but at the same time, an anthologist because I felt that you're still from far away, just observing, trying not to, bother them.
yes.
But at the same time, I felt that you do give dignity and a voice to the animals, and to nature. Have you always written with this approach, or did you change um, with your environmental activism?
Well, it's a good question, that actually. I think yes is the answer, and also having an allotment.
Mm-hmm. Yes,
I,
yes.
I remember one day sitting down, resting from my labours, and being aware that something was actually in my field of vision, and it was actually a ladybird on the end of
Mm.
a stem of grass. And the ladybird had her own life.
Yeah.
It was like kind of, it would happen. She wasn't paying me any attention,
Yeah.
and it was very close, and I felt privileged, really.
Yeah.
But also like the butterfly landing on my thumb, which I thought was
Mm.
magic, really. This doesn't happen to people usually.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I think it's the close-ups like that, really. The, the butterfly was so close, and the ladybird was so close, and in some way, this is sounding a bit kind of wishful thinking, but it's like they trusted me
Mm. Yes.
not to move and not to harm them,
Yeah.
really.
Yeah. I believe that. Um, I was also wondering, because of your bio, it's clear that education and activism has always been part
Yes.
of your life. So I wonder if poetry is an extension of that too.
Um, yes, I think that would be true. I've, I've had always wanted to be a writer,
Mm-hmm.
and I think that that didn't happen in terms of making a living, um, but it's always been very important to me,
Yes.
really.
Yes.
And so I think it's expressing feelings that would otherwise, I think, be haunting me. I think I would be haunted really if I didn't write about them. And
Yeah.
like the nightingales disappearing,
Mm. Yes.
if I hadn't written that down, I would feel really I'd not done them justice in any way,
Yeah.
because somebody has to say, let's not just find them in odes.
Yeah, and it's really sad that most of us won't hear in real life
Well,
the
yes,
Nightingale.
you know, down the centuries, poets have written about nightingales, but it's like, not just memorializing natural treasures, really. Let's have the treasures themselves.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Um, so, following this, there was a poem specifically written after Ruskin.
Ruskin wrote about um, this idea of seeing a tree as a human, really, and it just, I thought it would be interesting to take it one step further, because biology now tells us that actually there are mycelium roots underneath, which
Yes.
obviously he didn't know about.
Yeah.
And that I like the metaphor really of the trees connecting. I mean, some people say they talk to each other. It's you can take your pick really, but they are connecting, and in some way they do warn each other. And there is this sort of underground forest really,
Yeah.
but it just took Ruskin a stage further, because I mean he was 19th century and nobody knew that
Yeah.
then really. I like the idea of connection really within the natural world, because the previous section had been connections between people and animals.
Yes, yes. I was also thinking of some of your poems that I felt that it's like for you, nature, it seems like it's art, and I felt that some poems were nearly like ekphrastic poems.
Oh,
Um,
right, okay,
and
yes.
when nature, um, these immense real life paintings, and so it's just something that you observe and admire. So do you have a consciously connection to art and poetry, or does it come naturally for you?
Well, I was very fortunate as a child to start history of art at the age of 8, and we had postcards sent out from
Yeah.
England, and they were really our treasures of high culture, I suppose. I don't think we understood them, but actually they were like a portal into a different world, really. And so that's been there from very early on, really. And I have my postcard moments in art galleries. um, so, yes, I think that is very important, actually.
Yeah.
And and also, this is the living artist, Liz Miranda, who paints, well, she was painting, I don't think it's always her subject, the beauty and decay,
Mm.
because actually not everything has to be perfect, that actually to see things in decay is also this past perfection in the decay.
Yes. Yes. So I do have a controversial question. So in some of your poems, I feel you talk about the environmental issues and nature in a quite catastrophic, um, biblical way.
Yes, yes.
So I feel that you don't shy away from the fact that nature can have negative feelings, that it can be angry and furious. So I was wondering if you are, first of all, religious, and if this is a reflection of also your beliefs, and if you think that the situation that we are in right now, it's so bad that this is what you have to, to express.
Well, I think that it would be totally wrong not to uh, ad- admit how bad it is, actually. That would be closing our eyes to a looming catastrophe, really. Um, but I wanted to offer hope, really, that there's still a lot of beauty out there, and that it's up to us to preserve it.
Yeah,
In terms of my own beliefs, I'm not religious, but obviously, given my age, steeped in the Bible,
yeah,
uh, and some of the language in the Bible is so wonderful, the plague of locusts, um, and the idea of the flaming sword in paradise, no longer a flaming sword, but waving signs by protesters, really.
yeah.
So I think that I'm steeped in those stories and that
Yes.
language, really.
I feel that because I'm not a religious person either, but I was raised Catholic, and I have to go weekly to catechism. And
Oh, right, okay, yes,
but now that I'm an adult and I write poetry too,
okay,
that becomes your
yeah,
vocabulary.
yes, yes.
So those are the references that you keep going back, even if
I think it would be a loss if it is lost,
hmm,
because I think that uh, there is this sense of uh, revenge in a way in the poem called the Earth Giant. So Earth Giant goes on a rampage basically and says, what have you done to the earth? And uh, uh, breaks down the sea walls and lets in the sea in order to show people what will happen. The corpses and the flat screens and the broken cars swept away to sea. I think there is a sense of my believing that actually nature is angry
yeah.
because we've upset the systems. I won't go into all the scientific reasons that, like the weather systems and AMOC and all the rest of it, but there is a feeling that things have gone so awry with what was something that actually in the 18th century they felt worked like a watch, the inside of a watch, the great designer, and that we've actually pulled bits out of the mechanism.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. My last question. So this is your first book.
Yes, yes.
Were your other books much different from this one?
Well,
Um,
yes, the first one is called Imperatives, but the other one, the second one, was about um, the cycle of life, human life, actually. Uh, and there are poems there about a child being born and the end of life. So that's a kind of human cycle of life, whereas Imperatives is like the cycle of natural life. And the third one was quite fun because it was short poems that brought both aspects together, really. Because I'm quite fond of haikus,
yes, yes,
as you may have noticed.
yeah. So ultimately, what would you like people to take from Only One Earth?
Well,
And what do you think it's your legacy?
I think just to say again, let us not be a plague of locusts upon the earth, really, and to preserve the complexity, which I haven't been able to do justice to. Nobody can. And the beauty of it all. How lucky we are.
Yeah, yeah. Well, thank you so much. I was wondering, would you like to read a couple of more poems before we finish?
Yes, I haven't necessarily prepared them as I do like a script, but I will do,
Yeah.
do my best. What kind of poems would anyone like? Do they want cheering up poems? Do you want the beauty or do you want the panic?
If I can, yeah.
What, just tell me, you know, like this is what do you want?
I have a request, the one about after Fleur Adcock.
Oh, you like that
Yeah,
one?
I do like that one.
This is about my younger grandchild. I'm sorry that the older one doesn't get a look in, but in the one about the family, she does. It's called Ada the Snail and I. Ada and I see a snail, like a tiny galleon, crossing a grassy sea, leaving a glistening wake. Having just admired the elegance of snail shells, she reaches out to grasp it, the snail squirming inside in fright. But she knows to leave it in peace, more than mollified, because moving without legs is magic. Entranced, both Ada and I watch its clever locomotion, inch by heaving inch, cresting the grassy waves. We are bound together, willing the effort needed to reach a chosen destination, Ada the snail and I. It's a destination for all of us. Do we know where we're going? I suppose it's what it's about.
Yeah, yeah.
One more. Do you want panic or do you want beauty?
What's your favourite?
Oh.
Intrigued.
Well, that was one of my favorites.
I'm scared because now she can read all my notes.
Okay, I'll read the Earth Giant one because actually it's written in my favorite Anglo-Saxon meter. It comes from Beowulf originally, which is two strong beats, pause or caesura in the middle, and lots of alliteration. It's because I like the form. It's called After Jerusalem. Spiky green hair springs out of the grass. Clay sculpted ears listen into the wind. Sky and cloud eyes must see it if it's safe. But the wildwood's gone. Now people swarm past. His shoulders stay huddled under the ground. His flint-studded club sleeps by his side. Riots of lightning rip across skies, embattled by thunder in a boiling storm. Bodies bent double, battered by hail. The crust of the earth slowly cracks open. Earth Giant heaves himself up, then thunders away over treeless land to the sea in the east. In the time before time, I guarded the wildwood, which covered the country like a living cloak, till iron axes attacked and the creatures all fled. So little is left, just shreds and patches. Mountains of rubbish cover rust-colored earth. A plague of people have run rivers dry. He's angry, bone angry, at the changes he sees. So he raises his club right up to the sky to crush the sea walls and sweep them away. Sky and cloud eyes flash in the sun as he crumbles the walls, breaks them like bread, flooding the land with a fierce rush of sea. Corpses and cars and skeleton flat screens, all swept away by that fierce rush of sea. swelling and roaring in his clay sculpted ears.
Oh.
I scare myself.
Well, thank you
Sorry,
very
I
much.
hadn't prepared that one, so one or two fluffs.
Oh, that's okay. Thank you so much, Pat. Thank you.
I just, if I scared myself, I haven't scared you too much. I want to offer some hope in that if we take action together, things can improve.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
The politics of hope.
Well,
Thank you all very much.
Thank you. Thank you all.